Good. So in the previous video, long one, I was following this weird tutorial. Let's see if we can pull it up with that one that was generated by Cloud Code, I think, with some prompts that I gave it to try to replicate. You could also be following in case you're interested. I did that in my other class. This one, but I like the bcrypt one. I wanted to see how it compared. So in any case, so if we want to use Passport Local, what are the steps that you need to do? So the very first thing is that, and I like the format that they're giving us in here, is that we are going to create a new folder. I wonder what is the proper way of creating root folder, like root-based folders in VS Code without having to click down there, as I did. Anyhow, I have my config and I want to create a passport.js. I want to create a configuration for passport. I'm going to be importing passport from passport. I am going to be importing strategy as local strategy. So I like that. The AG from local strategy, although if you actually see on this documentation, when you want to do that, they actually recommend like importing directly like that. So we could do it directly like that as well, just using the default import, but let's follow this one so we don't screw up that much. So having done that, we are also going to need bcrypt, so we can do import bcrypt from bcrypt. And then we are also going to need find user by email and find user by ID from our models users, and then this one is going to be GS. Yes, perfect. So I have imported all of them. So when you want to use Passport, basically the first thing you have to do is that you have to create like a strategy, okay? And this strategy is the package that we actually imported in there. And that one, it's a little bit confusing because like it takes two parameters, as you can see in here. So what is the username field is going to be the email, and the password field is going to be, because I double click. Okay, so if I guess I close that here. So here is the password field. So what are the fields? This is going to be receiving information directly from the form online or in the front end, and then pass it in here. And then you're going to need a function that normally it's called like verified or something like that. And this function, it is going to need 3 parts. So you're going to have like, once it processes those things, it is going to do 3 elements in here. So we can, let's do it as an arrow function. So it is going to be something like this, okay? If I do it as an arrow function, I don't even need the name in here. So that's good, perfect. So if you take a look, and for that one, probably could be, here you can see the function as well. So the whole idea is that, like, sadly, everything I have taught you in here has been with promises, which have this nice syntactic sugar that are the awaits and things like that. So in here, we are not going to be using that. We are going to be using callbacks. So this is a function that has a callback, and depending, you're going to have like 3 scenarios. So the case 1 is whenever, like for instance, I like what Copilot said in there, is that the user is not found, okay? So basically for that one, what you say, it's actually, let's go and say here that my case 1 is going to be that there is an error, okay? There is an error, okay? So for instance, I don't know, like something happened when you're checking on the database or something like that. So you could go and return whatever the error is. So for instance, in this case, I'm going to say error finding the user or something, like in your application actually it will be like a try catch or something like that, as you're seeing in there. And then you just return the error, okay? and that has to be like an object. In this case, it's just a string. The other one, I like this one, is like, let's say, for instance, that the user is not found. So basically, in that case, what you want to return in your callback, it's the first parameter, you want it to be null. The second parameter, you want it to be false, which, and I'm going to explain in a second why that is. And then the third parameter is going to be, like, I don't know, what you want to pass. Like, for instance, user or password incorrect. Okay? And then I have that one in there, and then I do this thing. Okay? So if the user is not found, user not found, user or password user not found, or password incorrect. Okay, so you return that. And the third case, it's that the user was found and the password was correct. So basically, in that case, you return null and the user that you created, like somehow, like an user or something like this. That is going to actually come from there or something. Okay, so what you need to understand in here, oh, and by the way, I'm calling that callback. This should be like the done callback that we have in there. Okay, so there is like three main cases. Like the first one is that you pass done, and the first parameter, it's an error. If you pass null to that error, it means there was no error. So I actually was able to authenticate, but it didn't match. So if it doesn't match, then you return a false in the second parameter. If you actually found it, then you are supposed to return the actual user. Okay? So once you understand that, then the rest of these hopefully will make more sense. So we have the local strategy. So the first thing we want to do is that we want to put this into a try catch. Okay? So as I told you, here is going to be my try catch, and here is my error. Okay? So if there is an error, then I send case 1. Okay? Which is, I send the actual error that I got. I send that in there. Okay? So I don't need this anymore. So I just send the error. So try and then catch, and then we send the error. Okay? The second one, let's go and say, so what we're going to try is that we are going to try to find the user, and we can try to find the user using the email. Okay? And if the user doesn't exist, okay, if the user doesn't exist, then we can go and return one of these. Okay? So if the user doesn't exist, then we can go and say, yeah, the user is incorrect. You could go and say the user doesn't exist in the database, but normally we don't do that in a real application because that is going to be giving too much information for a potential attacker that might be just wanting to know if my application has that specific user registered. Okay? Then the next thing you have to do is that you want to say, is the password is valid password? And we can do that using bcrypt on the password and the user password hash. So remember, this user is the one that we're getting from the database. Okay, so you should do that with Mongo. And then the password is the one that we are receiving from here. Okay, so you try to compare those two things, and if the password is not correct, then you return also the case 2. And again, you could go and have separate messages, and you could say it's case 2.1 and 2.2, and but we actually want to return exactly the same message, which I think I am. So Copilot did a good job in there, copying and pasting. Okay, and basically that's what we are doing in here. And in case that is not happening, then basically what you want to return in there is that you want to return the done, and then with the actual user that you found. I don't like the idea of including the password hash in there. So this is an example of when vibe coding can be dangerous, because this is something that is going to get like kind of stored as a cookie, and you don't want that hash to be revealed in there. Although you need it, unless you need it, and in that case send it, but always be very careful. Like if someone steals the cookie or something, that is what is going to be used for that. Okay, so I am going to be doing that, and that is the case 3. which is what I was doing here, and then I can get rid of that, and then ESLint is not angry at me anymore. And yes, so this error from ESLint, I already found a configuration for that. So let me fix it, adding these two excuse me, to my ESLint config file, because I don't like that error. Good, perfect, so that error is gone. And then the next thing is that I just go, now that I have my strategy, then I just use passport use strategy. Apart from that, you also need these two things. You can see that Copilot was very eager to try to write it for us. So I can go and just do these two. And then, oh, I like what they're doing in there. So, okay, so it is actually changing the password. So what these two things do, it's in the session. Oh, that's why they're not deleting the user. So the only thing they're storing in there is going to be the user ID. Interesting. And then, oh, that's cool. Okay, so in the session, like for the session, the only thing it is going to be stored is the ID. And then remember, like the first parameter in these callback systems is always going to be if there is an error. And then using that ID, you can deserialize it and actually get the full user. That's why you didn't need that in there. But so in that case, I wonder if it's redundant. Let's leave it in there for the moment and see if anything breaks. Okay. So now that I have done that, then let us go into our backend as we see in here, and in this backend I have Express.json. Do not double click in there. Express.json, I do have that, the URL encode, and then I do need, excuse me, my session configuration. Oh, I actually like it because this one has like an expiration date for the session. So I can do this one in here. And then if you want to import DAX session, I need to do import session command from Express session, which is a library I haven't installed yet. So let's go and oops. And then npm install --save express session, and then npm start, and we do need to initialize passport which I didn't do in the one I did on the other class. I wonder if it is necessary or not. So I'm going to use this one. And for that one, basically this passport, and that's a clever trick that this thing is doing, I like it, which is that, let me put it, let's put these ones down here so I have all the imports together, and these ones seem to make sense in here. And I guess I could have my passport to be coming from the config passport. Remember that in the config passport, we import passport and then we modify it, creating the local strategy and serialization, deserialization, and then that's the one we are exporting. So I think that's a clever trick. So I like that pattern. I have this one, so that's fine. And then we can update the login route in there. For the moment, I think here in this configuration, I don't think there is a way for, oh no, yes, so actually yes, so let's update this. So we can come in here and then in the route, remember that we were authenticating, like using manual authentication, as you see in here. So instead of doing that, what we are going to do is that we replace this with the following. You take this thing, and then instead of doing the manual element, so actually let's comment this out. And then basically we are going to say router.post. And then when anyone goes to login, then we are going to be using something from Express, which is middleware. So once you have your passport, I guess, in here, yes, we have to tell it to create like a middleware, which is kind of be like an interception of the flow of the requests. And then this one is going to be authenticate local, and then I want to take 3 parameters: the user and the info. Okay, and then that's going to be, I guess, like a callback that I can do in there. And then if I have an error, then I can just return status server error and what is the error that I'm getting. And ooh, that is interesting. They're actually doing it. Huh. Oh, and this is kind of useful, but let's actually break that rule and see if I screw up too bad. So here it's how, oh, that's interesting. So let me see again, this one. Yeah, this is controlling everything manually. Yeah, I think I'm not going to pay attention to what Copilot was generated in here. Instead, I'm going to go with the official documentation. I'm not sure if it is because it's an older version or they're just trying to control a little bit more. So instead, what I'm going to do is use this one here, which is the one that uses the middleware that I was telling you. So I'm going to use, like, notice that instead of passing like the regular one, which is going to be the URL and then the callback, what we are going to do in there is pass intermediate, like as a second parameter, we're going to pass a middleware, which is this passport authenticate. That one seems to be somewhat similar to, yeah, although it is not being returned in there, so it's kind of interesting. But yeah, I just wanted to go in there and then wanted so this is because it wants to control the flow. Okay, so yeah, let me go in here and keep it like this. So I'm just going to say go to the login, or like stay in login, or go to this other page, which is going to be handling the redirection. I guess it kind of makes sense to do it like this. Should I do that? I see why it is doing it like that, though. Let me keep and be stubborn, keep it like this. And then this one is using passport directly from passport, so I am wondering if I should be using the passport from the config passport. So all of these might go really wrong. So for the moment, let's go to this one. I don't have a login route yet, so actually let's put it in here. And then, yeah, like I won't be able to test locally with curl as the other one did. Yes, test cookies, now storing cookies dot text. Oh, that's cool. Oh, okay, yeah, I guess I could do this one. So now I save that one, and then let me try this thing. If I, oh, and then of course, I cannot find passport. Passport.js. So it's in this one, and it cannot find package passport imported. That's weird. So this one, it's in config passport.js. So, oh, I guess, let me see how they named it. Import passport from passport. I think it might be getting confused by the fact that it's called passport. So let me rename this for passport config. Config, and then yes, please update those, and then here we are using that one, and I'm still getting the same error, but I did install passport, no? Or the problem is that I didn't install passport. Oh, I didn't install passport, so there we go. npm install -- save, and we need to have passport and passport local. So in that case, we can go back to how we have it, which was cleaner, I guess. And then I can do that, and I can start here, and then which one you cannot find? Module, passport config. Oh, come on, but why didn't you change it this time? I guess I just didn't save. Perfect, so now that one is working. And I can run my curl from here. Here, so I wanna log in with this one, and then so I do that, but I need to run that in the 3000. Yes, so this one redirected, and then it's telling me it cannot post to out login. Oh, interesting. How did I call this? So I do have the API out in there, and then in here, yes. So this should be just logging in here, same as this, and then I think I will have to give up and then do what they say. Okay, and then cannot read property password hash. Yes, so that one doesn't exist. So redirecting to about. Good, perfect. Okay, so and then so basically, for me to test this, I have to register again, because since I restarted the server, register, and then login. So when I do that, now it is redirecting to /, which is kind of what I wanted as well. I wonder, yeah, I think I get why Copilot did that. But now you can see when it is successful, it redirects in here, and when it's not, it should redirect to about. Okay. So let me stop in there, and then because this video is getting too long, and then we can go to the next phase, which is going to be these protected backend routes that they have, and hopefully I don't have to go back to that one. Okay.